Issue 86. Supersonic justifies his attacking Sonic and trying to kill him for once by saying that as long as Sonic lives, there's the danger that he might become part of him again instead of being his own person. Then the Chaotix warp here, knowing where to go because Omni monitored the police reports. The Lord guy decides to send his gang to try to kill the Chaotix, with the cloaked guy making Charmy relive his worst nightmare using a gas, and Mighty getting attacked by the potion guy after he improved himself because I guess he was overconfident and wanted to wait until he was finished drinking it to prove him wrong about being a threat. Then Sonic spin-dashes Supersonic into Omni's screen, and he tells Omni to do what he said and transport him to another dimension. Omni refuses because wherever Supersonic is, he'll destroy the people around him, so they have to deal with him properly. Makes sense that the less heroic Fleetway Sonic would have tried to deal with Supersonic like this so callously. But if Omni didn't approve of his plan, why did he bother? Well, here's why. Supersonic stops, looking like he was frozen in time, and Omni doesn't respond to them. Vector reasons that because Omni can control time and space, which was, well, oh right, he can be a time machine. Vector reasons that because Omni can control time and space, and it was never explained why he can do that, by the way, he was able to trap Supersonic inside of himself by stopping time. Sonic says he owes Omni a great deal for that sacrifice. It takes a week for Charmy to understand what happened to Supersonic, and when he does, he sees his hands go through the screen. So apparently, Omni can't stop time, only slow it down to a huge crawl. And Supersonic can move at supersonic speed, so he was moving his hands at supersonic speed the whole time, as time was moving at a crawl, inching closer and closer to the exit to the screen as it happened. The story ends with Charmy deciding not to warn Vector about this because he'd just yell at him again. That's karma for you, Vector. I mean, Charmy is annoying, but the way that they treat him is also annoying. In the next story, which is called Village of the Damned, the net that Knuckles is in gets set on fire, and it's explained that the reason the sheep woman turned on him was because she really was in danger earlier. Her brothers were going to sacrifice her before she found Knuckles, a better sacrifice in their eyes. I like that her reaction to him guilting her proves that she does feel bad about what she did. So, this story is making up for what I thought was bad writing with her earlier. Then Knuckles wonders why one of the villagers holds up his staff every time he speaks to the villagers. He's brainwashing them, isn't he? When I said that they were brainwashed earlier, I said that as a joke. Like, the only way this could possibly make sense is if they were brainwashed. But apparently even that was predictable. Or maybe... no, and I'd rather just call that foreshadowing. Knuckles pushes the net, trying to get away from the fire, and he makes the circular cage roll towards something in the distance that he hopes is what he thinks it is. The cage gets smashed on the rocks of a river, and Knuckles steals Mesmer's scepter, brainwashing everyone to return to their true selves after explaining to them the truth. Why wasn't Mesmer punching him when he was saying all of this to try to keep him from doing this? The villagers are horrified upon remembering that they were going to sacrifice someone, and it's revealed in a wacky twist that the owner of the tavern was the one really behind it. And that owner was Eggman in yet another disguise. This is silly. When I heard about the cult, I had a lingering thought that maybe Eggman was trying something with the cult again. I guess I should have figured that out right away when I saw an egg-shaped net. But I dismissed it because Knuckles was the hero of the story. So I expected an actually original villain. Eggman says that he was just testing the village, and he wants to brainwash the entire planet next. A pretty high-stakes threat. I mean, it's pretty impressive that Knuckles is being allowed to tackle this. He then taunts Knuckles that he can't put the ruler of the planet in a prison. Can't he put him in a prison in the Freedom Fighters' base or imprison him in Angel Island? Like, he was in a prison in their base earlier. He remembers that. Though he doesn't have the means to do that right now. He doesn't have rope to tie him up and a helicopter to take him there quickly. Eggman sarcastically gasps, asking if he's planning to kill him, and laughs as Knuckles says that he's being tempted to do so. Don't condescend to me, the comic wouldn't bother to do that. Compare this to Pender's, where in the 25 Years Later arc, he actually had the guts to have Knuckles be the one who killed Robotnik, or rather Eggman. In the next story, Clive shows regret, acknowledging that it's his fault he and Tails are being captured. And just by moving, Tails hears a buzzing sound from the electronic cuff on his wrist. The cuffs chain him and Clive to a wall, and Tails reasons that, "I'll find a way out, Clive. I'm always being captured." Clive naturally responds, "That doesn't exactly inspire me with confidence, Tails." Clive pulls out a screwdriver to remove the panel and cut the power, and frees them from the cuffs and panel. Then Tails, Clive, and the robot guard running up to them all get thrown up in the air because Clive cut the power to the whole shuttlecraft that was apparently what they were in all along, and now it's falling out of the sky as a result. I like that Clive gets to be useful. Clive is a good audience surrogate because he didn't know they'd taken off either. One robot trooper says that all power has failed, and then immediately afterwards the other robot presses an eject button and it works when you'd think the eject button would require power too. Tails and Clive get out of the shuttle before it crashes, and one of the robot troopers survives with a ray gun pointed at them while using a parachute. Tails dodges a laser which destroys the parachute, and Clive says that he pretended to be a trooper only to get back at the people who picked on him. So he was taking their tax money for himself. Tails convinces him that if he pays them back the money they were conned out of, they'll totally stop picking on him instead of hating him for what he did and throwing tomatoes at him. Oh good, there's a happy ending. Because the crowd gets to respect Clive because Tails told them all about how useful he was this story. Tails ends the story with the line, "Hopefully Clive's cured from making an ass of himself in the future." In the next story, some badniks get destroyed by Sonic, and then he falls into a swamp of poisonous looking liquid, getting stuck halfway through, which is good for him not drowning, but I'd still think having such toxic chemicals near him would give him serious health consequences, like making his legs useless. Tails is immediately denied his opportunity to be useful, flying him out of the swamp, because out of nowhere, Sonic was able to get out of the swamp despite being stuck in it using his super speed, all while calling him a pixel brain and telling him to stand aside. Oh, never mind, good writing, because instead, Sonic gets freed by a spin-dashing blue blur, an elderly hedgehog he's never met before because it's fuck bothering to let Sonic have relatives in a comic that plays it extremely safe. So the old guy called Tails Pixel Brain too? He pants in exhaustion because he's an old man, and he reveals that rather than being his long-lost grandpa, he's Sonic from 50 years in the future. I guess that's more interesting. And I like that he has spectacles and a little beard to look different and older. Compare this to 25 and 30 years later Sonic and Archie, where, as much as I liked those story arcs, Sonic looked exactly the same even when pushing 50. No, it's not enough that he had a crown. There's an alternate universe version of Sonic that had a crown. Sonic naturally accuses him of working for Eggman without explaining why he's suspicious. He's wrong genre savvy because he already has experience with the green, not scourged Sonic that can move around at his speed, and has experience with a hedgehog pretending to be his brother. It makes perfect sense that he would assume he's working for Eggman. Future Sonic asks him if he would have rescued him if he was working for Eggman. And Tails is the smart, level-headed one by taking Sonic's arm and telling him to listen to what he has to say. He says that he time-traveled to warn the heroes that unless they change their methods, the citizens are doomed. And as he puts it, something you do in the future will see to that. Oh, so it looks like the final ever issue of this comic didn't get its bad future idea from complete nowhere, as Sonic's being accused of destroying the future. I can imagine that what he means by change your methods is just man up and kill Robotnik and Grimer already. But he doesn't outright say that, and they wouldn't listen to him anyways. Sonic is reminded that time travel is possible, with Tails saying that he had a time travel experience recently, with Sonic not questioning him on that. So that proves that Tails did tell Sonic about his backwards time adventure, and Sonic believed him. Okay, if only we knew he did that more often. At first I thought Sonic was gonna race future Sonic to see if he's the real deal, which wouldn't have worked well because of course he'd be slower from age. Plus he didn't have the stamina for racing anymore. So it just gave him a false positive. Instead, Sonic does the smart thing and takes him and old Sonic to a lab in Chemical Plant Zone, while saying that this is one doctor he can't trust because he saved his life once off screen and he feels he owes them. The doctor says that he's taken cell samples from both of them, and of course he is future Sonic. This is a lot more interesting than being his grandpa, but it would have been nice to have Fleetway Sonic have at least one relative to make him have nice sweet moments. Because if he's not having sweet moments with his friends, he could at least have sweet moments with a relative, even if it would be one-sided from the relative saying he loves him and Sonic not wanting to look like a softie. But no, instead he's silver but less annoying. The first two stories were by Nigel Kitchen. In the first one, Super Sonic gets trapped in the Omniviewer's screen after Omni makes time move extremely slowly for a minute, but the end of the story implies that he'll get out anyways because of his super speed, and it'll be partly Charmy's fault for not warning anyone in time. The second story makes up for the bad writing feeling of the previous story, as it's explained that the sheep woman actually was in danger of being sacrificed earlier and feels guilty about selling Knuckles out to save herself. So it's like black and grey morality. Everyone joining a cult is explained as them being brainwashed by magical staff. That's surprisingly good writing. Then Knuckles doesn't immediately proceed to brainwash Eggman into being good with the staff once Eggman reveals he was behind the whole thing. The staff just seems to disappear as the backgrounds become lazy white and monochrome voids. And it ends with Eggman taunting Knuckles that he won't do anything to stop him. The third and fourth stories were by Lou Stringer, with the third one having Clive use his science hobby as a Chekhov's gun by letting Tails and him escape from the space shuttle they were trapped in by using a screwdriver. And Clive actually gets his village to respect him even though he stole money from them, and you'd think they'd be mad at him for that. But at least there is a happy ending. And the fourth story had Sonic be saved from a swamp that Tails could have saved him from, so it's not a paradox, by future Sonic. To pull the Silver the Hedgehog way in advance by saying that Sonic will doom the future unless the heroes change their methods against Eggman. I'm guessing the heroes won't learn anything from this warning, considering Silver's appearance in the comic later, and Eggman continuing to breathe for the rest of the comic. Unless the fan continuation actually had guts and did get rid of him, but that never happened.